What's up, guys? Thanks to John over here, I was able to get this live stream going. John saved the day. Thank you so much for that, man.
That's what Batman does.
He's earned the right. I'm gonna call him Batman now. He's earned that right, man. Yeah.
Batman! Batman!
First of all, guys, I wanted to apologize for that, and now everything should be okay because we're running everything a little differently now. But thank you guys so much for being patient. Thank you, John, for being patient. And let's get into this. So we was discussing the um, '60s Batman, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Like I was saying with that, um, I watched the show to really just explore it and see because I never really watched it before. So I really watched the show to say that I watched it, and I must say, for the time that it was made, I definitely had some fun with it. I think if you like that show, you have some fun with Batman and Robin for sure, because it's really close to that tone. But yeah, as far as that goes, I haven't seen the original movie, but the original show I have seen, and for what it is, don't mind it. But to get into these movies, um, I want to talk about first of all the movie that kicked off Batman being very popular. I mean, we all grew up with Batman, so you really didn't know of Batman as being this kind of like Spider Man. You really didn't know of Batman of having this kind of people joking about him and people making a mockery. It really happened back then because Batman wasn't taken seriously until this movie came out. And this movie came out and broke box office records. It broke all kinds of boundaries for superhero movies because we did have superhero movies before this. Like we had a Spider-Man movie from like the '70s or something like that. You have a Captain America movie. You had a weird couple of movies that came out in the '70s and '80s, but you really didn't have that big superhero movie besides Superman. Besides Superman, you really did not have that, and this is Superman both showed that you could do that very very well. And today we're going to be getting to the Batman movies. Talk about these ones, and of course, got to talk about the original classic Batman from 1989 by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Also, Kim Basinger and Robert Wool's also in here, as well as Billy D. Williams, Michael Goff, Jack Palance, who, by the way, Jack Palance is a wonderful actor. I mean, it's funny that we're talking about him first, but like he's really one of those actors that does get underlooked, and I must say he's a legendary actor from this movie. He's also in a movie called Alone in the Dark. I thought he did a really good job in. But if we're talking about this movie's cast, we got to talk about these two right here.
Hell yeah.
Chad Nicholson and Michael Keaton, man, which really to me delivered two awesome performances. I remember the first time I seen this. This was the first Batman movie I seen actually. Um, I grew up with this, Forever, and Batman and Robin, and I never really grew up with Batman Returns. Actually, I just recently seen it for the first time, but I did grow up watching this movie, and I grew up watching it not in this way, but I watched it on VHS. Believe it or not, the old school VHS. It didn't even have any lettering on it. It was a black VHS with Keaton and Nicholson, and it just had the logo in the front, which is pretty cool. And I
That's
remember watching
awesome.
it. Yeah, it was so cool. It looked so awesome on VHS, and it blew me away, man. And then, of course, after that, I watched, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And when I was a kid, The Dark Knight was really, really popular. That and Batman Begins. So I was all into Batman. But before we get into it, I wanted to, since you're the guest on the show, I wanted to have you start off your thoughts on the original Batman.
All right, so Batman 1989, like you said, a big box office smash at the time, obviously directed by Tim Burton and produced by John Peters, who I have loathing hatred for. I hate John Peters, and I don't know. Have you
Oh,
ever
really?
seen? Have you ever seen the Superman Lives documentary?
Yeah, I have.
That's like insane. That whole story where they wanted Tim Burton and John Peters to come back and work again. And it was because of their disagreements on this film that film didn't end up being made. And I think what you have really is a clash of styles, and in a weird way, this movie somehow really works
Mhm.
um in like working against those styles, because you look at Tim Burton's style, it's mainly dark. And then if you look at John Peters' style, it's very lighthearted and fun. And somehow those two come here, work together, and they pulled off, I think, a miracle. I really do think this movie is nothing short of a miracle, because if you look at Batman's side, it's absolutely dark and good and fun, and then with the Joker, it's the exact opposite. It's Nicholson just hitting an absolute home run, and I love Nicholson's performance in this. Um, Whenever I think about this one, it's a weird toned film. Like, it's really well done. The action's really good in it. The acting is fantastic, and I think the performances involved are really good. I think Batman '89 is actually a really really good time, and I think most people would probably say it holds up the best out of these like original four movies. Probably not my favorite, but definitely one that it holds up with most people.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's really hard to pick a favorite out of the Batman movies because I love a lot of them. I really, honestly, don't absolutely hate any solo Batman movie, which is surprising to some because to most people, one movie sticks out, or at least two movies stick out. Like, hey, that movie absolutely sucks. I'm like, well, we'll get to it and my thoughts on it because I have some interesting thoughts on these movies. I've actually never discussed Batman before, ever on my channel. This is the first time ever discussing Batman. So
I've never
yeah,
discussed Batman on my channel either.
yeah. So we're getting our opinions out. This is gonna be awesome, man. But yeah, dude, I love the first Batman. I would say it's hard. It's a battle between this and Dark Knight, between which one's my favorite. But I must say, the original Batman does a lot of stuff right. I think Jack Nicholson as a Joker, wonderful. He does fantastic. His performance in this movie is nailed. It's over the top, but not too over the top. It's done well enough to be the Joker. You know, you expect it from the Joker. I think his look is like the comics. It's comics. It's very faithful to the books as far as designs go, as far as inspiration from certain other comics in the Batman series. And I really love the Danny Elfman score a lot. I think it's a wonderful, beautiful soundtrack and it has a great sound to it. I also love Michael Keaton as Batman. As Bruce Wayne, I've grown to like that Bruce Wayne, but I do see the kind of weird thing that people talk about where it's like his Bruce Wayne is more of a confused Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
whereas he's not really playing a playboy. He's more of just like this kind of off person, and he's kind of daydreams a lot. You don't really know his mind's in other places sometimes, and I think this movie has a lot of classic scenes. Where Joker falls into the batch of chemicals, or when Jack Nicholson comes out of the shadows. As you can see, I'm a lot happier. And that's just such I love that so much. Here, let me lend you a hand. And his hand falls off. I love that.
Wait till they get a load of me. I love
Yeah.
that. That's
I
fucking
love it.
the
I
best
love
line
this.
in the fucking movie.
It's so awesome. I think if you really like Jack Nicholson's performance in The Shining, you're really going to love this because he tones that same energy and that same maniacal craziness. Only he's not trying to just murder people with axes. He's instead trying to kill people with this laughing chemical that will make you laugh to death. I think it's a very that's new this movie. We get to Batman Returns, talk about that movie's tone. This one, I think, what makes this tone perfect for me is that, like Dark Knight, it's not too dark, but it's not too light. It's that perfect balance of you have the humor in there, you have the fun moments, but you also have the edgy, dark stuff, the seriousness. You also have the moments where it needs to be dark. It needs to be realistic in how it is. Um, and it keeps it grounded because when you get too far in one way, we'll get to certain other movies. But I love the tone in this movie. I think it just matches it. I can go on and on. Love the first Batman a lot. It's a legendary film. It's up there with Dark Knight as being my two favorites. But yeah, that's Batman. I would give it probably. I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna give it probably a. It's gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10.
Hell yeah, man. I'll probably come in around an 8 out of 10 on this one. This is definitely a movie I really like, but for some reason, like it's one I think is really solid. It really holds up, but it's one I go back to it very few times. I don't really watch this one the most.
I'll admit,
Um,
Batman Forever probably more than this one.
I've
And
seen Batman Forever about a million times. Like I
yeah,
think that I think I've seen that one more than any of them combined. Like not even kidding. Like and a lot of people are probably going to be pissed, but that's
well,
I could even jump the shark here.
it's
That's
so
my favorite
rewatchable.
one.
It's so rewatchable. It's that's the thing. When we get to that movie, I'll talk about. I'll be gushing with you because I'm the same way about it, man. I don't get the hate for that movie at all. But yeah, if there's any problems for me, it's little stuff. Like to me, I get it. Batman kills in certain comics, and he doesn't kill in other ones. But it's kind of weird to me because when that established lore is done, and you're growing up and you know the rules, it's natural. Batman doesn't kill. So when he does kill people in these movies, and especially in the next movie, I'm like sitting there like, this dude just murdered people. He literally murders people in these movies, and it's like to the point to where even as a Batman fan, and even as a person that likes a superhero that is a little edgier and darker, I have to admit it's a little weird that also the Joker origin, not Joker origin, but Batman's origin is a little weird in this movie. Of course, the infamous thing where the Joker is responsible for his parents' deaths. And if anybody out there's going, spoiler alert, man, why'd you spoil it? This is Batman 1989, man.
This
You
movie's
need to go
31
see it.
years old. Go see it.
Yeah. It is such a legendary movie. And yeah, you're right. It's like 30 something years old. So if you have not seen Batman yet, go out and watch Batman. I mean, it's really a film that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. As far as when it came out, as far as when you first see it, it's just one of those things. But yeah, first Batman, 10 out of 10 for me, 8 out of 10 for John. Both rank it pretty high. I bet I think we can both agree that it's a classic, definitely classic.
Yeah, I think it's a really really good movie too, and it's like I would say it's definitely one of the most infamous summer blockbuster movies of all time. Like it paved the way for those Marvel movies to do what they do today, and like even what the Spider-Man movies did in the early 2000s. I think without Batman 1989, you don't get those movies as quick as you do, and you probably don't get the budgets and major studios behind those movies as much because Batman 89 really was a game-changing movie. It was like okay, if Superman was the movie that started it, this was more of the Star Wars of the superhero movies becoming blockbusters. Like this movie was the launch pad for it. And that's the thing. Why well, we can get into the sequel. It's so strange to me that they abandoned this tone because that's really what it seemed like they did to me. It seemed like with the first film, you have more of that clash between comedy and seriousness. You have the John Peters humor and then you have the Tim Burton darkness. Whereas the sequel, I feel like they went all out dark. I mean, there is some humor in there, but Batman Returns is as dark as it gets. I think to this day, it's the darkest Batman film that there is. Yeah, it's right there. Batman Returns. It's also on television right now. I have it on to my left. Fucking AMC. It's on AMC right now. Catwoman's on the screen talking to the old Penguin, if you will, played by Danny DeVito in the role he was born to play. But good brother Nate, what are your thoughts on Batman Returns?
Well, um, I must say, I seen it for the first time last night. Never seen this movie before in my entire life.
Wow.
I seen it one time on TV when I was a young kid. And believe it or not, when I was a young kid, I was watching this and I was going, I don't know about this. But watching it last night, I must say, dude, it's a great sequel, dude. This is a fantastic movie. I really love it to death. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first one, but I would say if anything, it's a little hair down from the first one. It's so close to it. It's such a great and well made sequel. Um, I think what really strikes me about it is it's so Tim Burton. It's like going 100% in his way, like you said. It's no longer that mixed tone. It's that total Tim Burton darkness, gothiness, and I think it has a great cast once again. Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Keaton. You know, you got also in this movie Max Shrek by Christopher Walken. Michael Gough comes back, and you got Danny Elfman coming back as well. And yeah, dude, the cast is great. I love the atmosphere of the snow and the cold weather. I thought it was beautiful. A lot of this movie is at night. I don't think you see like I think you see maybe one or two day scenes, but you really don't. Most of it is at night. Pitch black, snowy outside, filmed beautifully. The sets look amazing. The clown gang or bad guys look pretty cool. Penguin by Danny DeVito, I thought was a great bad guy. I thought he did a great job. He's very nasty and disgusting, and like, uh, it's crazy how far they went with him, and as far as with Catwoman. Of course, Michelle Pfeiffer. Oh my God, she was so hot in this.
Smoking hot.
Drop dead gorgeous, man. This is probably the hottest Catwoman. And believe it or not, I used to say that the other Catwoman was hot. The one from the 2000, what was her name? Who played her?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
And then Halle Berry played Catwoman as well.
Oh yeah, Halle Berry I thought was a hot Catwoman, and she's very beautiful. But like seeing this movie, man, this is definitely the hottest, most beautiful Catwoman, and it's it's because of how far they went with the character. I mean, that's the thing I want to get into also is how dark this movie is. It was making my jaw drop how crazy this movie was, and it's because we don't get movies like this anymore. We don't get
exactly
superhero movies like that, and I think when you see it for the first time, you're just so like, wow, like they really went that far. You see a lot of deaths in this movie. Maybe not the goriest deaths, but you're seeing people get shot in frame. You're seeing people get like bombs strapped on and thrown into a hole and blown up. I'm like, well, shit, he just murdered that guy. But you're seeing Penguin die, and he spit up this black sludge goop type stuff. It's just such a crazy amount of darkness and violence in the movie, and I personally didn't hate it. I thought it was a great touch because it made it grounded. It gave it that serious edge. I mean, hell, Penguin's big thing is to kill kids, kill these infants, kill these babies, drown them in the sewers. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell? Like when he said that, I was like, what the? Like, oh my God.
You don't
And
go
then
there anymore. Movies don't do that anymore. That's why I love this movie too, because it's so fucking perfectly dark, man. I would go as far to say this is probably my favorite Tim Burton film, and you're coming from somebody I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I hated his Planet of the Apes. I'll never forgive him for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Not a big Tim Burton guy. Never was, really never will be. But, you know, this movie, I just love that he turns away from some of the hokey stuff in 89, Batman 89. Like, I personally, I know I was talking to my friend Brian before, and he loves the scene where he's dancing like to the Prince song. I fucking hate that. I think that scene is awful personally. I don't like the scene where he's dancing to the Prince song. I think it's stupid. It totally ruins the tone and how that movie's going at that point, in my opinion. It's a total like takes me out of the film moment. And it's just some goofy stuff in the first one. Also, I like in this film, it dropped Kim Basinger as the girlfriend. I don't think she was that bad in Batman 89, but she also wasn't that good. Like, she didn't really add that much for me.
Mm-hmm.
When then, you know, you insert Michelle Pfeiffer, and there's kind of a lust element in the relationship with Batman and Catwoman, but it's always like violently kind of explored, and I love that. I think it's really cool. I love some of the speeches Danny DeVito goes on about I could forgive my parents. I was their number one child, but they treated me like number two. I love that, man. And there are some great scenes where this movie, and you and I both know this better than anybody, it feels like very much like a horror film.
Hmm.
The scene where Catwoman falls out of her window and crashes to the ground. I mean, that's straight out of a horror film. And the scene where Danny DeVito bites that guy's nose off, and it starts gushing all that blood. That's straight out of a horror film. Again, man, like the entire feel, tone, idea behind what the Penguin wants to do with, like you said, all the babies, infants in the world and drown them in the sewer. You don't see movies like this anymore. I agree that you said it best. And I think that's why I love this one so much. And I go back to this one a lot more than the 89 film. The 89 film is really good as its own. And I think it's one of those movies that it did the job that it had to do. But I think that this film goes above and beyond and tries different things with a genre that normally doesn't. I mean, superhero films are usually very black and white, whereas this film is gray area, the entire thing. I really, really like this film. And again, I wanted to praise the Danny Elfman score, especially in these four films, all four, Batman to Batman and Robin. His score is so fucking iconic, man. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, dude. It has a good sound to it. It has this great layer. It gives the movie such a fantasy feel. I think that's what's really important about it is these four movies are very much in the comic book realm. Basically, I think without Danny Elfman's score, it would not feel the same. But with that score, I think it adds so much to it. I mean, I love the main theme songs of the Batman movies. I love the um, certain darker, more serious, more somber type of music in the movie. Yeah, I absolutely love Danny Elfman's score. Actually, really quick, I'm gonna go grab my phone charger because my phone might die. But if you want to, you can.
No worries. I'll keep praising Batman
Okay,
Returns. Go take your time.
I should
Another
be back.
thing I love about Batman Returns is Christopher Walken's character. He is having an absolute ball in this as, the ultimate kind
I
of
agree.
he's almost the side villain in this. And he's fucking fun, man. He's basically being Christopher Walken with like a crazy bad haircut. He looks like fucking Ludwig van Beethoven or something. And he's just like, oh, she's workless, but she makes a hell of a cup of coffee. Like I love him bashing Michelle Pfeiffer, and towards the end where he's like, Bruce Wayne, what the fuck? And then he's like, "Where's Batman?" And then Michelle Pfeiffer goes, "He is Batman, you dumb fuck." Like I love that shit, man. I love the whole finale, like in the sewer, and the whole polarizing Catwoman. Is she good? Is she bad? Is she good? Is she bad? That's genius stuff, man. That is the brilliance of the Catwoman character, and I think they really tackled it well here. Whereas with Dark Knight Rises, which we'll get to later, I felt the character it's Anne Hathaway. I don't buy Anne Hathaway as a fucking villain at all. Like she's fucking Anne Hathaway. She's a babyface. She's born babyface. Michelle Pfeiffer in this though, man. Not only is she sexy, no, not only is she fucking raw. Not only is the suit and the latex and all that stuff just kicking ass and taking names. Um, she polarizes you as a viewer because I think we
Yeah.
want her to be with Batman, and then you're just like, oh my god, what is she doing? Like why doesn't she see the light? She was a good person in the beginning of the film. Why did she take this dark turn? And I love when I can get invested in a character like that. And that's the beauty of Catwoman, I think, as a character. The sexiness, the raw, gritty mentality, and the polarizing element of is she good? Is she bad? Will she turn? Will she not? I love that. They play with that element throughout this entire film. And Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, gives a career performance, as does Danny DeVito. I think Danny DeVito of these first four films, like I kind of consider this a quadrilogy, if you will, like the first four, like from
Yeah.
Batman 89 to Batman and Robin 97. I look at that as its own series personally. Like people say that the Nolan trilogy, and then I'd look at this as its own thing. I think he gives arguably the best villain performance of any of these first four films. I would say probably the highlight performance for me.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, man. It's and I think what it is too is like you said, and what I thought Tim Burton really did well with these characters, he did not. And it's kind of a problem with Bane in Dark Knight Rises, whereas in Dark Knight Rises, you don't have that. Even though I do love that movie, and we'll be getting to that later, you don't have a good characterization of Bane. Bane in that movie is just, I'm gonna, you know, bring terror to Gotham and I want to do all this stuff. He doesn't have what these characters have. Whereas with Dan DeVito, they have the thing in there with his parents, which is a cool dynamic. You have him trying to be involved with politics with Max Schreck, Christopher Walken, which I heard talk about him. Yeah, he was such a great uh, twist in this movie. Did a great job, such an over the top performance. But I love it to death. Such a great character, Max Schreck. Um, and yeah, dude, like I like the little things that Tim Burton decided to add to the characters in this movie. Like, whereas, like I said, with Penguin, he's trying to figure out who he is. He finds out his name. I am a Cobblepot, you know, and then he's trying to get involved. They make it. He doesn't make it to where they're one dimensional. It's not just oh, I'm gonna go and Gotham. Why? Because I want to. No, it's add stuff to it. They add stuff to it where he feels like, okay, when I was given opportunity, I was given none. I was born. So he's going to try and do that to other people as well. And with Catwoman, like you were saying, they have a great moment where her and Batman are both behind masks. Her and Batman are both hiding from their identities. They're both hiding behind this persona. And at the same time, Batman is just trying to show her that there is light behind this. And they bring so much to that. It makes it to where you're seeing them as they're in this dance and they're hanging out at the house and they have good chemistry. I think that's what it is too, is Michael Keaton and her both had good chemistry. You care about their characters. And they made Catwoman not one dimensional, which is hard to do because you see other Catwomen, other movies and stuff. It's hard to make Catwoman an advanced, detailed character because we don't really know much about Catwoman. But in this movie, I thought it handled very well. So I definitely agree with you, man.
I love. Don't you love how the media like portrays the Penguin as this like fallen victim? Because I love that. I love it's like, oh, his parents, you know, they abandoned him, and that's. I feel like if this was to ever happen in real life, that's so realistic. Like, because they portray him as the ultimate martyr, and he's anything but. You know, like he's like, I'm running for mayor and all this stuff, and I just love that. I think that's so intelligent because that's the way the media is. You know, they
Yeah.
hear a sob story like that and they ultimately get behind him, even though they don't know anything about him. Always thought that was an excellent theme tackled in this film that often gets, you know, lesser and less talked about, but I love it. I think Danny DeVito does a really, really good job in this. And I don't know. I think the whole finale is fun and the whole tone as a whole is really dark. And I don't know, man, this one really works for me. I think it clicks all the right boxes for me. And it's one of those things where I definitely do go back and rewatch this one a little bit more than 89 and probably Batman and Robin.
Yeah, definitely. I loved it a lot. I thought it was a great sequel. It's about as good a sequel as you're going to get as far as these movies go. And also, I think the other two, well, the other one, I think the one after I talked about is also a pretty good sequel as well. But I think, yeah, man, Batman. I also it's Batman being framed. That's so dark. That's so unheard of. I've never seen really, besides maybe a couple aspects in the Dark Knight movies where it's they're trying to make Batman look bad, but I liked how that was done. It's so dark. He pushed this girl off to her death. They're thinking that he's hitting people with his car. It goes down some really dark paths, and to say that I'm surprised that they looked at Tim Burton and said, "Hey, you know, you can't make any." I can't really say I'm surprised. Like it took me by, oh my god, I'm so surprised because you guys think this is like 1992, and they were just kicking off these comic book movies, and you have Superman movies, which don't have this kind of stuff. You have Batman One, which doesn't have this stuff. So to say that I'd be like totally shocked, it was like, hey, you know, we're gonna not do it like this anymore. I can't say I'm surprised, but I wish it didn't happen. It's unfortunate because I prefer this tone, honestly, this darker, more edgier, realistic tone. But not really realistic, but more of a darker comic book, gothic Batman. I really like this tone, this movie.
Do you think? Do you
I'm
think
gonna
this
give it a
tone?
9.
I would give it a 9 as well. But do you think this tone is maybe too dark for children? Like, I saw this movie as a child and I liked it a lot. Like, I can understand how a kid wouldn't, though. But do you think maybe it is too far? Maybe because I'm a big horror fan, you're a big horror fan. Like, maybe that's why it doesn't resonate with some kids, and as opposed to the '89 film. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess the '89 film is the better film to market towards the whole family demographic. But as I get older, I appreciate this one more and more personally, man. But do you think this one would work for kids, or do you think it's just too dark?
I can't speak for myself because I didn't watch it as a kid a lot. I would say that it really wouldn't scare me. It wouldn't disturb me. I think was is that it wouldn't do that to the kids. I think it would do it more to the parents than anything because I I think if anything it was the parents that movie more than the kids did. Um, because I've known plenty of people who've seen this movie when they were kids and they didn't even mind it. They didn't think it was scary. They didn't think it was like a horror film. But I just don't. I don't. It's like Mortal Kombat. They weren't ready for this kind of stuff. You know, this is a movie about Batman, and I must say, like when you see a scene where Catwoman corrosing Batman is licking his mask, I'm just like, oh my god, this is. And Penguin's talking about the flipper trick. I'm like, holy shit, like this is crazy, man. Is the really, if anything at all, what surprised me the most was the dialogue. The dialogue was what really surprised me. Because talking about literally like Penguin just looking at all these women and talking about talking about all that. It's like wow, like that's crazy. And Catwoman, you know, oh don't brood me. This is my first time. I'm like whoa, like that's it's just crazy hearing that kind of dialogue in this
And
kind of a
when she
movie.
slices
Like I
that
think
guy up,
there's I was like, what the? That just you just. I think what it is it surprised me so much because you don't see it anymore. You don't see this kind of stuff anymore. So that's why it blew me away. But I don't think it would really disturb me or anything like that or disturb kids. It's just, I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas. I grew up with that movie, and that's a very it has like skeletons and monsters and stuff. It's Tim Burton film. It's a very dark movie, but I grew up with that movie, and I honestly, it's still my favorite movies, honestly. But yeah, I don't think it would really affect me that much.
yeah, I feel you completely, and I agree. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a really different take on the whole character, and I know a lot of people will love it, a lot of people will hate it because of that. But I'm kind of in the camp of loving this one. I think this is a good, really good film, and it's definitely my favorite Tim Burton movie, and that's saying a lot because I don't like Tim Burton films. So this one really gets to me, and I really enjoy it. So I'm gonna agree
You
with your
would hate
rating.
my opinion. You would hate my opinion so much.
What do
I
you
guess
mean?
um, well, I guess deep down I am a Tim Burton fan. I just didn't even realize it until I look back and I'm like, wow, I think I like almost all of his movies, except for like Dark Shadow and the Alice in Wonderland movies. Anything else I absolutely loved, but you know,
Were you a fan? Were you a fan of
most
Charlie and the
even
Chocolate
most
Factory?
do I love it?
Were you a
Do I
fan?
love it? I wouldn't say I love. I wouldn't say I love it as much as the original, but I guess I wish I could say I hated it, but I didn't hate it. I actually
I feel you.
grew up with it, so it's but I honestly thoroughly do like that movie. I
What
mean, I
about Planet
guess
of the Apes?
what
Have you seen his version of Planet of the Apes? I thought that was really bad too.
his what?
His version of Planet of the Apes when Tim Burton did Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I liked it. Sadly, but
Nate, I
I've
love you.
never seen any other Planet of the Apes besides Dawn. so that's probably why. You know.
Nate, go see the original. What are you doing?
I will watch the original though. I swear, I will watch the original movies. Rewatch
Please see the
that, and
original.
we'll see how it holds. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, me and John give this movie a 9 out of 10. Very very dark, serious tone, but I approve of that. I think it's a well-made movie and easily one of the best Batman movies. And now we're getting on to one that I've always loved this movie to death. Ever since I first seen it, I rewatched it recently. Still love the movie a lot, and that is 1995's once again summer blockbuster hit Batman Forever. Now, I know you cannot wait to get into this movie. I want to hear your thoughts on this movie so bad. So I'm just gonna let you take it away, man. What's your thoughts on Batman Forever?
You give me the ball, Robin. I will run with it, bro. Okay. This is my favorite fucking Batman film. I love this movie to pieces. I love every single thing about it. I love this film. I will never fucking understand the hate. To each his own. It is what it is. I love this flick though. Joel Schumacher comes in after Tim Burton makes Batman Returns because Batman Returns was a little bit too dark. The studios felt the movie was still a smash hit because of Batman '89 being the smash hit that it was. But the studio was like, all right, maybe we'll bring Tim Burton back. There was a time where this movie was going to star Michael Keaton again. Marlon Wayans was going to be Robin. Robin Williams was going to be the Riddler. And Billy D. Williams was going to be Two-Face. All of that fell through because they couldn't come to an agreement on what they wanted to do. Tim Burton wanted it to be dark again, and the studio said, screw you, we're going to go with Joel Schumacher. We're going to go with Val Kilmer as Batman. We're going to go with Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, Chris O'Donnell as Robin, and the legendary Jim fucking Carrey as the Riddler. The cast in this movie, they have Nicole Kidman in this movie playing a sexy psychiatrist that feels up Batman's ass. I love that shit. You don't see that in film anymore, bro. And I don't know, man. There's just something about it that I just adore. I love the tone of this. It's basically the Adam West Batman with the knob dialed up to 11 and the budget through the roof. I mean, this movie had a stupid budget. Even for the year 1995, this movie had a crazy, insane budget. And I don't know. There's just something about this one, the charm of it, the humor in it, all the fucking lines, and the Riddler's plot to take everyone's brainwaves, their sexual fantasies, credit cards, and the little white lies. I fucking love this movie. All right. Like when I think of my Batman, the Batman I grew up with, the Batman I was a child with, I think no further than the finale when they're in the Riddler's lair and Batman is presented with behind door number 1, we have Robin, the boy Chin Wonder, and then in behind door number 2, the sexy psychiatrist to be, Bruce's love or his sidekick. Who's it gonna be? And I've got a riddle for you. It's fucking great. It is everything you could ever ask for in a comic book movie. It's fucking fun. It looks beautiful. It's definitely the best looking Batman film. Elfman comes back and nails the score out of the park. Uh, the chemistry and dialogue between all the characters is fantastic. I love Kilmer and Chris O'Donnell together. I thought they had a really nice chemistry as a sort of mentor to Padawan kind of thing. And then on the other side, on the flip side, you have Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones, who I know hated each other offset. At least Tommy Lee hated Jim. I think on screen, man, their chemistry's through the roof. And most people can't pull off a summer or winter, but you do it quite nicely, I might add. I just love Jim Carrey at this time was the hottest actor in Hollywood. I mean, he's coming off Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. And for him to come into this movie and start cracking one-liners while trying to be menacing at the same time was really fucking enjoyable for me. I think this is a fucking gem. I will never, ever understand how someone does not get enjoyment out of this movie. I think you literally have to be fucking miserable, just a miserable person to not like this movie. But again, I'm not judging anybody else's opinion. It blows my mind that people don't love this one. Here's a question for you before you get into your thoughts on the film. Well, two questions. One, would
Okay.
you like to have seen the Tim Burton version that we didn't get with Robin Williams as the Riddler, stuff like that? And two, do you think this movie's negative reception is because of Batman and Robin? Like, do you think that movie's negative stigma lingers onto this film, even though they're different films?
Oh, absolutely, man. Um, yes to both questions. Actually, I would I would honestly love to see that Tim Burton version. Um, even though I do thoroughly love this version. Only because, like I said, I love the first Batman and Death, Batman Returns, such a great movie, and I know he wanted to build those two movies up to a sequel. And I'll be honest, I would have seen it. I would have been interested in seeing it. I would have loved it probably because I love that tone. And it's a shame that the studios did that, unfortunately. But I'm not about it because we did get, to me, one of my favorite Batman movies out of it. Um, and I think that, yeah, that's what it is, because it's like Halloween 4 if we're compared to something like, horror. Halloween 4 is viewed as this not so great movie, but I feel like it's done like that because it's connected to the fifth movie and because Thor and plot that comes into the fifth film. So I think it's that same thing. Whereas in here, you're seeing Batman and Robin, you're seeing how top it is. You look at the movie, it's very similar in tone, it's very similar in the way that it looks. It's very similar in the way that, I mean, it's pretty much everybody from the same cast and crew. But for me, what makes Forever so right is it is literally the perfect. If you took a comic book and you had magical powers to throw it into a theater screen, this is what you would get from me. This is the perfect, fun, campy, in a good way. Just not really campy. That's the wrong word. I want to say it's a fun, energetic, neon. I don't know why I want to say neon. Probably because of all the neon
It
lighting.
is
But
neon. It is very
neon,
neon.
very, very fucking neon. Which is awesome. I love that. I love that. It is literally such a fun movie. And I must agree with you, man. I don't get it. I mean, besides maybe the fact that it's connected to Batman and Robin, maybe that's why. Or maybe Schumacher's style. You gotta think it's Schumacher's style. The colors, the suits, the acting, the taking certain metaphoric approaches to Batman and making it more closer to the Adam West show. And not everybody's a fan of the Adam West show, even though I filmed with the movie or the show. People had seen the serious version of Batman and were getting Batman Forever, which is obviously more towards kids. So I think that's what it is too. But to me, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't. None of that stuff bothers me because of how entertaining it is. I don't care if the movie's dark and serious like The Dark Knight, or if it's um, grim and dark like Batman Returns, or any of that. I just care if it's an entertaining, good movie. And when I sit there and I watch it, I think it's just such a well done time. And you're right, that budget is insane for this movie. Which you gotta think. You looked at inflation, and you also look at it compared to like nowadays and budgets back then, because budgets back then were very small. They were not very big. So to
Exactly.
have that big, like a crap ton of money went into this movie, and it's pretty much the second big blockbuster of these movies. I mean, Batman Returns made a lot of money as well, but this was really the one that sold very well on toys, was a massive, massive hit, was marketed everywhere. You seen it everywhere. It was a huge, huge phenomenon. And
Apparently this was really big at McDonald's. Like this one, like this
oh
was a
yeah,
big movie with the Happy Meal toys and the giveaways, stuff like that. I don't know. I wasn't even alive when this came out, but apparently this was like everywhere, like you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard you seen it on TV all the time. There were even these commercials that were made for the movie. Like they would actually put Val Kilmer in the suit, and he would shoot these commercials for other products, and they would sponsor the movie, and toys everywhere. I mean, literally a phenomenon. But I love pretty much everything in the movie. I don't really have any problem with the movie except for maybe a few scenes that I thought were a little too much, in my opinion. And sometimes I will say, when you're bringing that much energy from your actors, you got to have that moment. Which this has a lot more of these of these taking a break from the energy moments than Batman. Batman and Robin is full throttle 2 hours and like 2.5 hours of crazy riot kind of acting. Here it's you've got Tommy Lee Jones playing just such a fun Two Face. He's having a ball in this movie. Love Tommy Lee Jones in this movie. He's just so funny. You have Jim Carrey delivering an awesome performance in this movie as the I almost said the Joker, the Riddler. Um, and he just having so much fun. He's just having so much fun, and it's crazy to me they had this kind of hatred toward each other back when this was being made because on screen they work so well as bad guys,
I know.
and it's crazy, right? It's insane that you think they hate each other, but they work so well together. And I think also this one has once again another great cast. I mean, I'm a big fan of Val Kilmer as Batman. His Bruce Wayne, I don't know about his Bruce Wayne. For me personally, I've never really gotten him as Bruce Wayne, but I thought his Batman I thought was nailed, and I love that line where he's like, I'm both Batman and Bruce Wayne, not because I choose to be, not because I have to be, because I choose to be. I just butchered that line, but yeah, it was a good line. If I didn't butcher it, but
Yeah,
yeah, that I love that.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. What was you gonna say?
Okay. I like him as Batman too. But I will admit I think Keaton is the best. Like I think Keaton is the best Batman, and I think as Bruce Wayne I would give it to Bale. But I do like Val Kilmer in this role. I don't hate him like most people do. I think he's miles better than fucking George Clooney was. I really do.
Yeah,
Um, I think he's fun. I think he plays the character with a lot of grief, and it seems like he's really the one that struggles the most. Like he's having nightmares, stuff like that. And then the whole thing with Robin's origin, I love that stuff. I think that was really really well done, where his family all like falls because of Two Face. And I thought the Edward Nigma stuff was a lot of fun too. And Bruce Wayne, it's so nice to meet you. And he's trying to get him to convince him, and he walks away from him. And Jim Carrey's just his expression of disappointment. He's like,
too many
"You were
questions. Too many.
supposed to understand." I love it. I fucking love it. I crack up every time. Um, and like some of the scenes with Tommy Lee Jones and Two Face and the Riddler, like Robin Banks and Two Face, show me how to punch a guy. And he's like, "Oh, it's real easy, my boy. You just roll the fist, reach way back, and assert yourself." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna try. Roll the fist way back," and he punches him, and he just like breaks his hand. He's like, "Ow!" Like, what was fun about it was, and I personally love this, and people will disagree till the cows come home because I personally think they're spoiled with villains like Thanos. These were think about it, man. These were two pussy villains. Two Face ain't beating up Batman. The Riddler ain't beating up Batman. It was the psychology that I loved from these two villains. It was the fun that they were having while wreaking the havoc they were wreaking. That's why I love these two together. And that's why I think they work the best together. I love these two together. And I know a lot of people's complaints are, oh, well, they're both playing the Joker. He's not playing Two Face, and he's not, and Jim Carrey wasn't playing the Riddler. He's playing the Joker. You just say that because they're having a fun time, I think. I don't think that necessarily means they're playing
Right.
the Joker. Why can't the Riddler be having fun with what he's doing? Why can't Two-Face have multiple personalities, the one and the two, and having fun with what he's doing? I think people really hate that they switched back to the fun Adam West tone coming off the dark Returns tone. I don't see why we have to be against one and for the other. Why can't we just be for both?
Yeah, I love both.
So do I. Why do you think people can't get into both? Do you think it's just like some people want a serious and some people want a goofy? Like, what's wrong with trying something different? I don't see, if it's done like shit, it's done like shit. But I think both these movies do it really well, don't you?
Yeah, I really don't get it either. I don't get it. Maybe it's because, like you said, it's just comparing to the old Adam West stuff. They're like, well, we don't want this. We want a darker movie. Uh, I just think it's like, well, it doesn't really matter to me. They're both great versions of Batman, and they're both done very, very well. So I don't. I'm about as puzzled as you are, man. I love both interpretations of it, the dark and the lighter. So
So do I,
I
man.
don't.
I don't get it at all.
I also love the usage of sets in this movie too. I think Joel Schumacher really builds his Gotham, builds his world, builds his own flavor of a Batman movie, and I really love that. I really enjoy that a lot.
I agree, man. I think he does a really good job directing. I think the movie is fun from start to finish. It's very comic booky from start to finish. There's a lot of laughs along the way, but I think it has a lot of heart to it too. I like the Nicole Kidman stuff. I think she's looking as
Mm-hmm.
hot as she ever did at this time in this particular movie. I like Chris O'Donnell as
Oh my god,
Robin, even though he gets so
dude!
shit on. I don't know. Like I agree with you. Like, would I've liked to have seen Robin Williams as the Riddler in the Tim Burton version? Sure. Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors that ever lived. But I'm happy with the Jim Carrey version. I'm happy with Tommy Lee Jones and Kilmer and Chris O'Donnell and Nicole Kidman. I like the film. I think it's fun. It's everything you should want in a comic book film. A really cheesy, fun comic plot, good acting, a beautiful looking comic book look. And I don't know, man. I just really dig this movie. I think it's a blast from start to finish. And I know it gets a lot of hate. I know it will, no pun intended, it'll forever get a lot of hate. People don't like this movie. I don't know why. I believe it or not, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I showed this to my good friend JP, and he loves the Nolan films. He grew up with those three. You know, he didn't see these four movies. I showed him this one first of the four. He was like, what, you know, of the older ones, what do you like best? I said, well, Forever's my favorite, you know, period. Um, and he said, okay, we watched it, and he couldn't get into this at all. He was like, what in the fuck is this? Like, it threw him for a loop. He was like, how did this get approved? I don't know, man. There are just some people that don't get into this tone of this movie for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but I don't know. Personally, this is my Batman. I grew up with this one. It's the only one I own, believe it or not, of every Batman movie they ever made. This is the only Batman movie I own, and I've watched the DVD literally to death. I love it, man. Long live or forever live Batman Forever. I'm coming in with a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. I This was one when I was a kid. I used to watch it all the time. It's just such a fun movie. Great watch, entertaining as hell. Fun time with it. Great performances by Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Nicole Kidman as and shows a good job in the movie as well. Val Kilmer does a good job. I don't get the hate for his Batman. I like you said, I don't get the hate. I really don't get the hate for this movie at all. I'm gonna come in a little lower. I'm gonna give it probably around an 8, but I could definitely see you coming from with a 10. I still absolutely love Batman Forever. It's one of my favorite movies to watch. I find myself watching it more than even the first Batman. I've seen Batman Forever a lot more than the first one, and even more than stuff like Batman Begins and stuff. But yeah, I love Batman Forever. I'm definitely on the same page as you, bro. Batman
As
Forever is
do
great.
I. Long live forever, brother.
Oh yeah, along with this movie, it's such a great. I hope one day it can form a cult following, but it's been like 20 years, so I doubt. I don't know. I'm really hoping that it can get a cult following one day. I mean, it kind of does. I know there's some people that like it, but there's not really that. Like, I don't know a lot of people who's like me, where I say I love the movie. A lot of people just say it's an kind of movie, but I personally love the movie, and I would love for it to get a cult following one day. But yeah, Batman Forever, great one in my opinion. And we get to the last movie in this Batman saga. We get to Batman and Robin. One of the just throw this out. This should be one of the worst comic book movies ever made. Gets to be one of the worst movies ever made, and one of the biggest failures in Hollywood history. Now, that's all genuine knowledge. It's not coming from me. That's just coming from the masses, the majority, the of things. And this movie is weird. This movie is weird for me, man. I do not absolutely hate this movie. Nobody else does. I can sit down. I think it's like with you with Chainsaw Massacre 4. I can sit down and watch this movie and just laugh and have a good time. It's like entertainingly bad to me. It's entertainingly bad. I still think it has some decent things in it for me. I don't think it's nearly as bad as what people say. I think that's just the general consensus of the people say, oh, it's the worst comic book movie ever made. I wouldn't say it's the worst one. I've seen worse comic book movies than this, but I could say it's definitely not a good movie. It's not even a great movie. Like, it's for me, it's just so bad it's a good movie to me. It's so good. It's so corny, so cheesy. You're going down that route, which I think is with Batman Forever, it's that perfect balance. But with this movie, to me personally, but they too far. It was basically a giant toy commercial, and that's basically what it was meant to be. It was meant to be a 2.5-hour toy commercial, and you can tell there really was a lot of passion in this one. You could just look at it and tell it was the studios want made. They want to make it real fast and just get it out there. I think there's a lot of miscasting in this movie. A lot of miscasting. We have when these are all great actors, but I think it's miscast. It is incredibly miscast. We got Clooney. Loved Clooney. Great actor from Dusk Till Dawn. He's been in plenty of movies. I think he was in that movie Gravity. I mean, he's been in so many movies. Big fan of Clooney. I don't know why they picked him to be Batman in this movie. I don't know why they didn't just tell him, like, hey, when you play Batman, bring your down and intimidate. I'm Batman. No, it's, hey, I'm Batman.
Yes.
Hey, Robin. So, it's like, it's like, when the movie opens up, and everybody knows about this, the bat nipple stuff. It opens up with bat nipples and asses in your face. And then looking at the car, and Robin is like, I want a car. Just take the car. And then George Clooney is like, this is why Superman works alone.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I just, it is so funny. It makes me die laughing every time I hear George Clooney say something as Batman. I'm just like over here dying. And then you got this line from Robin later on. I think this is a big pop too. The lines are hilariously bad in this movie. Rubber lips are immune to your charms. And I'm just like, oh my god, what? And then you have Arnold, which is a huge miscasting in my opinion. He's literally nothing like Mr. Freeze from the comics. And I will admit, you can have fun with his performance in the movie. It's very, very fun. But every single second he's saying an ice pun, and it's, you're not sending me to the cool party. Oh, that's gonna execute. Then you got Uma Thurman come in the movie. I'm like, Uma Thurman has some wild oats to sow. I'm just like, oh my god. You got look over here. Hey, I'm Batman. What's up, Freeze? How you doing? Then you got Chris O'Donnell saying, Like, it's not fair. Why don't you let me go with you? It's not fair. Let me go with you, man. And he's over here. They went this movie. They just made Robin nag and nag and nag and complain. And I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Like, they really. And then I thought Chris Nolan did a good job in the movie. But in Batman Forever, he wasn't like that. He was begging. He was just like pleading to help Batman. And then this movie, he's like, well, I don't want to help you anymore. I want to be solo. Why can't I be the main superhero? And oh my god, I just can go on. It's a fun movie to watch. Just to sit down, have some fun, look at all the logistical problems of this movie. Like, you have, probably put it in this good point. You have the suit that's powered by diamonds, and there's supposedly these lasers in the suit that cools the diamonds, and it cools his the laser. Lasers generate heat. How are lasers making him more cooler? This is another good. Oh, what?
I gotta ask you, can you please do an Arnold as Dutch yelling at Batman? Come on, Batman, kill me! Come on, kill me!
Come on, Batman, let's go! Come on, do it! Come on, George Clooney, come on, do it! Hey, what's up, Freeze? Come on! Come on, act
come
serious,
on, George Clooney, come on!
Come on! Come on, ER, come on! I'll meet you in ER. Let's go. Oh shit! Come on, Bachelor! Come on, kick it down! Come on, go! You're the Bachelor. No, you are not, bad boy.
Come on, George! Come on, ER!
Come on, I need more toys. Come on.
Resuscitate my wife. Come on. Oh, fuck. Just killed me. Oh,
man. And then you got Bane, too. They just, like, dropped the ball on the Bane.
Bane was like a pro wrestler.
Bomb. Yeah, I was like, why is he the... I get it, Bane in the comics was a huge, big dude. But, dude, looked just, like, crazy as Bane. Looked crazy. And I don't know who it was. I think it was a pro wrestler. But, oh my god, you just got Bane in this movie. There's a scene where literally Uma Thurman puts on a wig to disguise herself. It's like when she gets to the place they're going to, she walks without the wig on. So I was like, oh, so much for that plan. Yeah, man. I'm just gonna shut up now because I've been going on way too long about Batman, but it's gonna give it a 4. It's definitely a bad movie, but it's just so entertainingly bad. I cannot hate this movie. To say that I hate it would be a lie. I can actually have such a fun time with it, but yeah. What's your thoughts on Batman or Robin? Come on, John. What's your thoughts on Robin? Come on.
Come on, ER. Dude, that's the funniest shit you ever said in my life. Dude, that made my fucking day. Well, first of all, I gotta say, you just fucking killed me. That I would love to see the Nate Murphy standalone review of this so I could fucking laugh like that again.
Oh.
I don't know how to follow that. Jesus, where do I start? All right, well, I will say that I am in the same boat. I don't hate this movie at all. I think this is a fucking fun movie. I never hated this movie. Even when I was a fucking kid, I liked this movie. There are its problems. I mean, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl is fucking bad. Bane is really bad. Bane looks like a really shitty Lucha Underground wrestler. And he doesn't have any dialogue. He's just like, oh, that's fucking Bane in this movie, which is bizarre. Uma Thurman, I will say this is the hottest Uma Thurman ever looked. I think she was really fucking attractive in this film, and I thought she was a lot of fun. I love fucking Arnold as Mr. Freeze. I actually like the Mr. Freeze character, always did, especially in Batman Sub-Zero, which was an animated film that came out in 2004. I love that movie. Always really liked Mr. Freeze. Thought he was a cool villain. Even in this movie, I don't hate Mr. Freeze. The biggest problem with this movie is George Clooney. George Clooney's the biggest problem with this movie. He's if they brought Val Kilmer back again, I don't think this movie would be half as bad. But George Clooney was terrible. The bat nipples, the fucking bat credit card. I mean, I can understand why it gets its hate, but I don't know, man. It's a comic book film. It's coming off of the last movie where they sucked people's brain waves into a giant fucking blender and were sucking brain waves out of, like, I think both movies are fucking ridiculous. That's the thing. Like, I don't get why this one, I guess because it's just more unapologetic, and like you said, it has less moments of the seriousness. I don't know though. I don't hate this movie. I can put this on. The movie, there's one of these movies that I don't like it much at all, and it's one of the Nolan ones, and I will say I like this one even better than that one. So I don't know, maybe I have lower standards, I don't know, but I don't hate Batman and Robin. I think Batman and Robin's an entertaining time. It's not a fucking great film. It's a step down from the first three films. It's definitely the weakest of the four, but I don't hate it. I like all four films. I think they're all really good. I would rather, to be honest, as a whole, I would argue that maybe I like these four better than the Nolan films. And I know people are probably like, "You're fucking crazy." But honestly to God, as a whole, I like these four films. I like all of them. Whereas the Nolan films, there is one I'm not too big on. Don't hate any of them, but if I had to rate this one, I'm going to come in at a 6 out of 10. I like it. I think it's above average. Not the best movie in the world, but definitely a little bit above average, which would be a 5. So I'll go 6 out of 10. I was entertained by it.
You're doing well. Have a fine. No.
Grande, you need to chill out. Dude, that was
man, I hate it. It's just there's no way I could hate this movie. And to say it's the worst comic book movie ever made, to say it's the worst movie ever made, come on, guys.
Watch Catwoman. Watch Elektra. Watch Fantastic Four with fucking Miles Teller. Those are worse than this. I swear it. Those are worse.
Those stink. Those are terrible. Those are horrible. I've seen those. Those are just terrible. Those are way worse than this. But yeah, man. Batman and Robin, man. It is what it is. It's definitely an experience. If you haven't seen Batman and Robin, I recommend it. I mean, just give it a watch. See how you. I never. That's another one. I watched Batman and Robin a lot growing up. So also, it was a fun movie. But also, when I watched it again, I didn't find myself hating it. I just found myself looking at certain things and going, "Oh my god!" Like, "Oh my god."
Here's a question. Here's a question for you. I got a question. If you were given the option to keep 2 and leave 2, would you take the 2 Burton films or the 2 Schumacher films? You can only pick the 2 of them.
Between the Tim Burton ones and this?
Yeah, if you could have the 2 Tim Burton films or the 2 Schumacher films, which 2 of the 2 groups do you like better?
I love both. I lean more towards Tim Burton style, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I hate Joel Schumacher's style. I actually really love his films. Like Batman and Robin is still, like I said, it's entertaining. Yeah, I prefer the Tim Burton one, but that's hard to say that the Joel Schumacher.
100%, man. I agree.
But yeah, after Batman and Robin came out, studio. I mean, it made money. It made a lot of money. It was just the backlash and all of the criticism against it. I mean, nobody likes that movie. It's like a movie. I can't say it's bad, but I've seen where like even the actors like kind of don't like the movie, and even the director Joel Schumacher apologized for the movie. It's insane how people think it's that bad. I'm like, I don't think it's that bad. Like, we need an apology for Creepshow 3, but I don't think an apology for Batman and Robin was really necessary, man.
That's my thing with a lot of comic book people. They don't know the shit we know with bad films. They haven't seen the bad horror films we've seen, man. Like all their movies go mainstream to a theater. How many fucking bad horror movies go mainstream to a theater? Not too many, you know? Like, and the ones that do suck. I mean, your Fantasy Islands, your fucking Countdowns, you know, you got a lot of bad ones. But I don't know, man. I don't think I think superhero people are superhero film fans are almost privileged to have, you know, usually their movies, even their bad ones, aren't the worst movies in the world, man. I agree. I don't think it's that bad. It's like The Troll 2. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's watchable. I think it's The Troll 2 of Batman movies.
Yeah, so that's how I look at it too. To say that I would hate it would be a lie, absolute lie.
Me too.
But unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, with Batman and Robin, it didn't do so well critically. So they dropped the movie, and there was no more made. And then in 2005, I believe, 2004, 2005, Christopher Nolan picked up Batman, and I watched one a lot growing up as a kid. I actually remember when this movie came out, I was really, really young, and my dad was a big Batman fan back then. He loved the old Batman. So when this one came out, we for sure went and got it. We went to Blockbuster, picked it up, and checked it out. Oh yeah, definitely agree, Master of Fear. Otherwise known as definitely agree. But yeah, we went and seen it. Well, we got it from Blockbuster and watched it, and I was a huge fan of it as a kid. Still a huge fan of it to this day. I think honestly, it's the second best Nolan film out of them. I think Dark Knight's probably the best. This one's probably my second favorite. It's got a really good tone to it. I think it's filmed very well. Um, and I think a lot of the approaches to it being more realistic I can get into. I know for some people the realism of his movies is what turns them off, but once again, look at it as like just another way to make Batman. And I still love these movies. I don't hate any of these movies, which is shocking to most people. But for this one, I think it has a great look to it. Probably my favorite look out of the Nolan film. This darker brownish type of look. I can't describe it to God love. And you're not far into reality with this, but like this one still has those comic book elements to it. Like Gotham still looks like a Gotham. If that makes sense to me, it doesn't seem like a little. Well, it's Gotham, but it's like New York. No, to me, it seems pretty much like Gotham. The usage of mist and rain. I love that. I love the way Batman's suit is in this movie. Christian, awesome Batman. Um, I think what it is where it does fall short is villains because there's not really a lot of good villains in this movie, and I do like the actors. Like you got Liam Neeson, you've got um, Cillian Murphy, uh, which is Scarecrow, and you found that Liam Neeson is Ra's al Ghul, and I just didn't think they were great bad guys. Like I'm a big fan of Scarecrow, but I felt like it wasn't done the best in this movie. Um, Although I did like the nightmare sequences and stuff like that, I just felt they could have done a little bit more better with Scarecrow. So with the Ra's al Ghul storyline, I liked it. I just didn't really get into as much as Dark Knight storyline, but I do like it. Um, didn't really see a lot of Liam in the movie, which I get it. He was supposed to be a cover, or not a cover, but like there was a cover Ra's al Ghul for him. He's the real Ra's al Ghul. But I liked it. I liked the tone. I think it runs at a good pace. The acting is pretty good. I think it's got a good soundtrack. I love the music in these movies. And yeah, Batman Begins is a solid movie. I'm going to give it probably an 8 out of 10. I definitely really think it's a solid film.
Awesome, man.
Definitely get into it.
This is one I actually have a little bit of a story to this one, and a lot of people will be surprised. I went to see this one in the theater at the ripe old age of, I would just 9 or 10. Have to be at 05. This one came out, right?
Yeah, I think it was 05.
Okay, so I was around 9 or 10, and I gotta be honest. Growing up with Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, I didn't like this movie. This was the tone that I felt stepped away a little too far from it. It's not a horrible film. It's not a film that I hate, but it's not a film it's definitely the one I've watched the least of all of them. I mean, easily the one I've seen the least. I've seen it maybe 3 times. And every time I kind of always feel the same way. I always leave like wanting more. I think it's, for one thing, I think it's way too fucking long. I think I agree completely. The villains are nothing in this film, especially compared to the following film, where the villain is arguably gives the best performance in the history of film. Um, I don't like Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow. I don't think they did enough with him. He doesn't feel at all like a threat to me. Liam Neeson, it is what it is. I don't think he gives in a bad performance, but again, I don't think he's given that much to do. I love Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. I think he's great. As Batman, it's okay. Michael Caine, I really enjoy. Gary Oldman, I really enjoy. Katie Holmes is looking voluptuous as ever, man. You gotta love Katie Holmes. I hate that they recasted her in The Dark Knight. That's my only fucking flaw with The Dark Knight, is that they didn't bring Katie Holmes back, and they're like insisting that Maggie Gyllenhaal is beautiful when she looks like fucking Miss Piggy with rouge. I don't know, man. It annoys me that they recasted Katie Holmes personally, but yeah, I think the origin, while it's done well, it takes way too long. And like, I don't think you get enough Batman in this movie. That's my biggest fucking problem with it. It's too much Bruce Wayne, it's too much Begins, and not enough Batman for me. Which is, I guess it's crazy to say, but I don't know. For some reason, this one I have the least amount of rewatches and probably the least amount of interest in. Not a bad film, but definitely one that ever since the first day I saw it, I kind of always just felt off with it. Not one of my, it's definitely my least favorite of all of these main ones we're talking about here. I'm gonna come in at about a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's the worst movie in the world. I think it has its positives. I think it has good acting. I think Nolan directs it to perfection. I think the score is really good. I think it's one of those movies that had you trimmed it down a little bit and made the origin stuff go a little bit at a better pace, I think I would like it a lot better. I wanted more Batman, I guess, and I got that. I got that with the following 2 movies, so I don't really complain. I think the trilogy as a whole is better than this one movie, so I'm gonna come in at a 5 out of 10. Average movie for me.
Oh wow. I can definitely from it has problems. It's definitely got problems, man. They're there. They're very obvious. It's not a perfect movie, and I will say this: the Nolan trilogy is probably one of the most overrated trilogies of all time. Because to me, they're great movies, but they're not. I think they all get at least an 8 or a 9. I know Dark Knight gets like a 9 out of 10. They're most high rated, but yeah, Batman Begins. It has problems. They're there. I can definitely see it, but yeah. But that movie was a big hit. Made a lot of money. Was very popular. Of course, and it caused just this resurgence of Batman. And of course, a couple years later, in 2008, we had gotten the sequel, which is tied with Batman to be my favorite, The Dark Knight, which I feel is I will agree to this film. This trilogy, rewatching it again and really appreciating the style of it, appreciating the look of the movie, the way it's shot, photography, the lighting, the characters, the acting. Um, I think the cast, once again, the cast. You got, I think it was Aaron, Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent,
Yeah.
and then you've got, of course, Christian Bale, of course, Heath Ledger. Unfortunately, passed away not long after this movie came out. Best performances of all time, and did a lot of great things in this movie, and got an Oscar for. I think he earned it. Such a great job in this movie. And yeah, it's just a shame that he passed away after this movie came out. He did a great job. But like you said, Michael Caine did a good job. Gary Oldman comes back. Pretty much the entire cast and crew. And I think this movie is really well done. Since rewatching these movies again, this is the one that helped. It's just got a good sense of realism to it and style. And I love how in this movie, Batman is not stupid, which people try to say, well, he's an idiot in these movies. I'm like, not really. He wouldn't just know the answers like that in real life. I mean, if we're talking about this as a realistic, he wouldn't know that, oh, this is where we need to go. This is what we need to do. This is where to me, I like it more of him solving out and trying to figure out how to approach the Joker. I mean, Joker is unhinged. So I like how it's that more of that the hunt for the Joker and trying to figure out what he's doing next, where he's going. And the Joker in this movie is very vicious and dark, and I thought very brutal. And I thought, once again, some great lines, beautiful. That great scene, evening, Commissioner. Love that. I love the way that scene is shot too. That interrogation scene, that's just brilliant. But yeah, I'm gonna give it probably. It sounds crazy. I was saying that it was overrated, but I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the most perfect movie of all movies of every film ever made. It is the top movie, but I will say it's a very, very, very solid comic book film. I'd give it probably, out of comic book movies wise and action movies wise, I'll give it probably a 9 out of 10. But I'm not gonna sit there and say it's, you know, the best of the best of the best of the best, but it is one of the best. I do think that. But yeah, I love the suit once again, the tactical suit. I'm a fan of Batman in this movie. People hate this Batman. To each their own. I'm a big fan of Batman. Cool if you don't like Batman. I just the intimidation of it. Like, it's more of a detective Batman. It's more investigating. I get into that. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about some Dark Knight. Really enjoy it. What's your thoughts?
I agree completely. I think this is a really big step up from Batman Begins. And again, the first thing that anybody and everybody does and should think of when they think of The Dark Knight is Heath Ledger as the Joker. I think he's absolutely phenomenal in this role. And not just the acting, but I love the psychology of this particular Joker character. And I love the introduction to the character in that like little mob press conference. And I thought my jokes were bad. And I know why you choose to have your group therapy sessions in broad daylight. I know why you're afraid to go out at night. The Batman. I love that shit. That shit is absolutely epic. It builds a grand scheme and feel towards the beginning, and then it just ultimately just keeps going into the payoff. And every time you think maybe they have the Joker, he's one step ahead of them. Even at the end of the film, where you think Batman has won, not really. I love that psychology. I love how Harvey Dent is slowly but surely turns evil in this film and how he becomes Two-Face
Yeah,
towards the end of the film. Love that slow descent in from being the best of us to ultimately turning, to the Joker's level, to Batman and the Joker's level. Love that storytelling. It's absolutely excellent. Um, Nolan's direction is top notch. The action scenes are top notch. I love when Batman is trying to protect Harvey Dent from being taken out in the truck. Excellent, excellent action scene. The interrogation scene where Heath Ledger says to Batman, he goes, I don't want to kill you. He starts that classic Joker laugh. I don't want to kill you. You complete me. And that's so much truth to that. There is no Batman without the Joker. And I really feel it's more important that way because they really do complete each other. And there's so many great lines in this where Ledger says to him, you can't kill me because of some kind of rule in your head, and I can't kill you because you're just too damn fun. And this is what happens when an irresistible force meets an immovable object. I think Heath Ledger's having a ball with this. He's scary, he's funny, he's one of the Jokers that we don't know the origin. And I always thought that was a brilliant thing about this movie. We don't know the origin. He doesn't have a distinguishable, DNA. Just he is a mystery. He is an entity. He is the Joker. And we don't know how he got those scars. We get numerous stories about it, but we're led to believe that he's had a rough past. But we don't have to know exactly what it was for him to make it work and for it to be effective. I think The Dark Knight is a masterpiece, and I know a lot of people. I think they're shot on it. They're kind of bored to death of hearing how great it is. It is that fucking great. It's not a movie that I would say is overrated. I think it's the best of the Nolan trilogy. I truly do. I think it's a huge fucking step up from Batman Begins. Whereas that film, I didn't feel like I got enough Batman. This film, I got all the Batman I wanted, all the Joker I wanted. They squashed the Scarecrow in the opening like 10 minutes, which I love because I was just like, yo, the Scarecrow was such a shitty villain, does nothing. And in the opening 10 minutes of this movie, he's like taken out of the equation. Love that. I love the point where Joker is trying to show that civilized people will turn and eat each other. And at the end, they show the Joker that they're not as ugly as he thinks they are. It's epic, man. So many things in this film are really, really well done. And of course, I
Yeah.
love the Joker wants half of the money in this project. They think he's disposed of Batman and they give him half the money and he burns it and he says, you guys, it's all about money. He goes, this town deserves a new class of criminal, and I'm gonna give it to him. It's just absolutely fantastic, man. I absolutely love Heath Ledger in this performance. I think he does a great job, and I love the film as a whole. I think The Dark Knight's a 10 out of 10, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking from the trilogy point because most people held this trilogy as to be the best trilogy of all time. I can't say that. I could say as a trilogy, I dig the Star Wars trilogy a lot more. But I agree with you. With this movie, I can't really say it's overrated. I'd be like saying the first Batman's overrated. I can't say that. I really do get into this movie a lot, and I really love the movie a lot. So as Dark Knight for me, I'm going to give it probably a 9 out of 10. Um, John really enjoys it as well. After that, I think they were going to make one a little bit more sooner than 2012, but with the death of Heath Ledger, it kind of halted any production for the future. And eventually, we did get the last movie in the series, and it's the last one that we're talking about tonight is the was in 12, and when it came out, was it to be a perfect film? Nowadays, it doesn't get that said about. Um, a lot of people hate this movie, despise it, think it's overrated. I hate it back then, but it's more underrated now. I still really movie. I think it's got a lot of great action in it. I think the approach of the breakdown of Batman and how he's been broken down and his knees and his muscles, the deterioration of the realism of Batman in this movie, I thought was cool. And I thought Christian Bale in this movie did amazing. Bane sounded funny, But I thought overall Tom Hardy did a good job playing Bane, but he just sounded hilarious. I can admit that. How are you doing today, Batman? How are you doing? How you doing, Bane? How you doing? It does get a little funny hearing that. But that fight scene, I really got into it. Most say it's boring. I'm like, I thought it was intense. You've got just Batman fighting his heart out, and then Bane just picks him up and cracks him right over his knee. Just makes Bane such an intimidating bad guy. Catwoman in this movie, I know that people say like Anne Hathaway, and I know you're probably the biggest fan of Anne Hathaway. A lot of people aren't. I think she's okay. I don't think she's anywhere close to it as. I'll even say I might take Halle Berry a little bit more, but I thought she was okay. It wasn't the best Catwoman interpretation, but it was okay. I could definitely say it's all right. But what was your thoughts on the interpretation of Bane and Catwoman in this movie?
I think Bane is tackled okay. I like Tom Hardy as a villain. I will say overall, I don't think he's that great. I think they should have done something about the voice because it's more annoying than it is iconic. And I think when I think about Anne Hathaway, she does fine. She's really trying to pull off what Michelle Pfeiffer naturally did in Batman Returns, but I don't think she does it as good a job. I think she's a good actress, but I don't really think the world of her Catwoman portrayal. Like she's like, why will you turn back? This town is giving you nothing, kind of thing. But I don't know. I think it's kind of a not the greatest portrayal of that character. It's not a bad performance, but it's just I think they could have definitely gotten somebody better for sure. I think Jennifer Connelly would have been a
Yeah,
really good choice. Somebody like that, I think it would have been a really good Catwoman. But it is what it is. No big deal. And Bane's whole plot, it's like he just I want world destruction and all that stuff. It is what it is. I like the fact that he beats Batman, he breaks Batman's back, and they really make it as though like he is the Clubber Lang that Batman has to overcome, and get the eye of the tiger. It's very much like Rocky 3 in that aspect. Like he finally meets this big bad opponent that is tougher than him and hungrier than him. And you simply adapted to the shadows. I was born in them. It's a really good character. But I think you're right. They should have done something about the voice. It would have immensely helped it be for me to take it more seriously. And I think it does have its moments. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the film who does a good job, and then there's a really weird twist with his character where he is Robin, and I was like, what? Like, it's not bad, I guess. I guess it's a different take on Robin, but I don't know. It's kind of fucking forced. Like, why couldn't he just be a good cop? Like, why did he have to be
I
fucking Robin? I didn't like
I
that either.
didn't like
Yeah,
it.
I didn't either.
And
I think the movie.
the ending
Go ahead.
too. The ending. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Are you sure? I
Yeah,
didn't cut
yeah.
you off. All right. I was just gonna say that the ending also bothered me too. I didn't like the way that it really ended. I mean, I kind of get what they're going for, where it's like realistically somebody couldn't be Batman forever, but I don't know. I just the ending didn't really do it for me, especially the way that Bane does get defeated and how Catwoman's done in the movie. Like I like the dynamic in Batman Returns where it's Catwoman and Batman. They're both behind the mask. They can relate to that. They want to be together, but they can't because they're enemies at the same time. And it's a good dynamic. Here, it's more of just Catwoman's in there, and she helps Bane, and then for some reason, Batman trusts her. And it's like they don't really do much with it, and I wish they would do so much more with it, but they don't. And it's really a shame. I thought there was opportunity there that was missed. I could definitely say this is probably the weak one of the trilogy for me, even though I do think it's a pretty good movie. It has its flaws. Like, it's over 3 hours long. I feel like you could trim that down to at least 2.5, 2. I don't think it needed to be over 3 hours long. And that's the first problem with it. It's a very, 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 very long movie. I think also Bane's voice, they need to add more to Bane's character. There's not much to his character. But I do think he does oppose something to whereas Joker mentally was outwitting Batman. This one, Bane physically is outdoing Batman. He's bigger than Batman. He's stronger than Batman. And Batman tries to fight him fist to fist, and he does not win. I love that. Realistically, it makes sense for it to happen. But also, you have the thing where they lock down Gotham, and the way it's done is kind of like, really? Would Gotham get locked down that easily? Like, I don't know. Has its issues, but it's like little nitpicks here and there. But overall, I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7, a fair 7. It's still pretty good to me, but I wouldn't say it's the best one. But yeah.
I agree completely. I'm going to give it a 7 as well, but I do have a question. Do you think had Heath Ledger not tragically passed away, do you think I personally think they would have had to have made Dark Knight Rises with the Joker again? I think they would have had Heath Ledger return again, and they never would have went on to Bane had Heath Ledger not died. Because after I love that final line in The Dark Knight that the Joker says, he goes, "I think you and I are destined to do this for eternity." And fucking Batman goes, "You'll be in a padded cell for eternity." And Heath Ledger, without missing a beat, goes, "Maybe we could share one." I mean, I think it would have been really a much better film had you brought him back. You know, obviously had he not tragically passed away, but I think that would have been really, really beneficial to this film. It would have been
Oh yeah.
interesting to see how they would have done it. You know, the final battle between the two would have just been absolutely excellent. I always, people ask for the Batman Forever we never got. I would have liked to have seen the Dark Knight sequel with Heath Ledger had he not died. Like, that's the dream Batman movie I would have liked to see, because I think them trying to up the stakes would have been very interesting to see. Maybe it would have failed miserably, but we would have had more Heath Ledger's Joker, and I'll take that any day.
Yeah. Yeah, I for sure think that I for sure would say that he would be in this movie. If not anything, it would be just more villains. Like, it'd be Joker, maybe Catwoman, and I would honestly say maybe Two Face come back. And people are like, well, that's stupid. He's dead. I kind of wish we would get more Two Face, because he didn't seem to get blown to a million pieces. He didn't get his head cut off or anything like that. He just fell off of this ledge that even Batman lived from. So you could have had Aaron Eckhart come back in this movie. I don't understand why they didn't do that, but I would say, yeah, he would be in this movie. It would add something to this movie, because you could have had, even if you had Bane in this movie, you would have had that Joker Bane combo, or you would have had that Joker Two Face combo. You would have a combo there with Heath Ledger. I thought it would have been amazing, but unfortunately, what happened, and he passed away, so it's really unfortunate. But I think for sure he would be in this movie if he was still alive. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to think about that. Unfortunately,
I like that they did the little Easter egg where Joker got away in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it would. I wonder how they're going to do that in the next movie, but they didn't end up going Bane, But yeah, I mean, if anything, I thought, why didn't they bring Aaron Eckhart back? Because I thought he did a great job as Two Face. I mean, he was underrated in that movie. People don't really like that Two Face, but I thought it was really good. I'm just surprised they wouldn't bring him back to be in this movie. But
I think they wanted. I think none of those movies really, even up to this point, had a villain where that could physically beat up Batman. I mean, you had Nicholson's Joker, who couldn't beat up Batman, Danny DeVito's Penguin, who couldn't beat up Batman, Two-Face and the Riddler, who were evil masterminds, not, bronze. Mr. Freeze, weirdly enough, had to this point given Batman his most physical challenge. They have a fight, and it's a pretty decent fight towards the end of that film. Scarecrow was nothing. Heath Ledger didn't have a big fight scene with Batman. So I think they finally were like, you know what, let's do a villain that kicks Batman's ass. And I like that. I think that really worked. I just hate the payoff. Like you said, Anne Hathaway shoots him with a rocket. That's how Bane. What? Like, I want to see Batman fucking punch him in the face till that fucking stupid thing popped off and he broke his jaw or something, or ripped his fucking head
Exactly.
off. That's what he needed. That's what his character needed. Like, if you ever notice, a lot of these films really focus more on the villains and their fucking stories. Like Dark Knight, I think, is far more about Joker and Two-Face than it is about Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne as a character doesn't do that much evolving in The Dark Knight. His movie to evolve is really more Batman Begins, which weirdly enough to me is the most boring one. Um, Dark Knight has so much of that, and then here I think Bruce Wayne desperately needed that, Eye of the Tiger, Rocky 3 like moment where he came back, he proved that he's bigger, better, and badder than Bane ever was, and kicked his candy ass. But that's not really how it ends. Anne Hathaway takes out Bane, and I'm kind of like, all right, whatever. He lives happily ever after, maybe. Maybe. We don't know. It's a weird
And
fucking ending. I don't know, man. It's a little bit odd of an ending, but, is what it is.
it's called Dark Knight. It's the thing too. It's called Dark Knight Rises, so he has to rise from something, right? And I guess he does kind of rise, but like, if you want to do that whole thing, this character does rise up against this challenge to beat up Bane, and it doesn't happen. I'm with you. I don't understand why they didn't do it that way, but I guess they didn't want to be typical or something. Like, I don't know if they didn't want to be just you could see it coming or something. I don't know. Maybe they want to be surprising. I don't know, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the Batman discussion. We'll skim by the other ones real quick. Like, what's your thoughts? Because it doesn't have to be like a big drawn out thing, but on the Batman vs Superman and a Justice League movie, those two have Batman in it. What's your thoughts on like Ben Affleck as Batman and that world of Batman that we didn't really get to see too much of?
Didn't care to see it. I hate Ben Affleck. I think he's one of the most worthless human beings and actors that there ever was. So I had absolutely no desire to see it. I heard Batman versus Superman was one of the worst pieces of shit ever. I didn't bother to watch it. And I didn't bother to watch Justice League or any of that stuff. Suicide Squad I thought it was a piece of shit garbage movie. Um, I don't know. Wasn't interested. Can't stand Ben Affleck. I guarantee you, if I did watch it, I'd tell you he's the worst Batman. So I'm going to stay away from it because Clooney can always hold that title. I have no interest. Never will see them unless I'm paid stupid money. I'll never see those movies. So you can go on and bash them too if you'd like.
You are not missing a thing, my friend. I am not a fan of Batman vs Superman at all. Horrible film. Not a fan of Justice League at all. And I thought the Batman in those movies, like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, was pretty good. Him as Batman was decent, but maybe it was just a design choice and also the writing in those movies too. They decided to really force the Batman universe into that story, and it didn't really work for me. But yeah, that's just quickly skimming this. You're not really missing much. Just telling you that it's not very, very good. But yeah, for joining me on this Batman discussion. I know it's been kind of a hectic night. I do apologize for that. I really do. It's been fun though talking Batman with you. Hopefully the Batman will be good. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I really appreciate you being on, man. Thank you.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on as always, man. You're a really good friend to me, and I had a really nice time talking Batman with you. I'm sorry, I got a little tired I'm really tired, man. I'm shot today. I don't know why. I'm just like really
No,
sleepy.
no,
Yeah, I just
no,
it
you're
was
fine,
long.
man. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. You were delayed, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, is he not saying anything? Dude, your thoughts on
Nice.
Batman and Robin nearly fucking killed me. So that made my day. That was really funny shit, man.
Yeah, man, it was great, man. So yeah, thanks so much for being on. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you later. Peace, guys.
We'll catch you on the flip side, everybody. Have a good night.
And remember,